What's up, guys? We are talking Twisters tonight. This is a sequel to one of my personal all-time favorite movies, man. Twister, the original. The absolute OG original. I got the poster on my wall over there. If you guys check out Instagram page, you'll see it there as well. But again, Twisters just came out last week. I went and saw it last night, and I have to say, as a person who's not really big on sequels, I'm just not, because I feel like sometimes you just kind of jack up the original films that are like something like this for me. I was actually very impressed by this film. It's not too long. It's about 2 hours. I think about 2 hours, 2 minutes. Again, it's got Glenn Powell, the super talented Anthony Ramos. You guys, a lot of people know him from In the Heights and Hamilton. And another actress I actually have never heard of before, Daisy Edgar Jones. She plays the main character, Kate Carter. And this movie actually started off with a bang. Like, I loved like their opening scene because Twister had that great opening scene, with Joe's dad getting sucked out of the storm cellar, and then we kind of had the same thing. We have, you have those college kids. There's four of them. They're out storm chasing. Because they're trying to stop a tornado once it starts. So in the original one, they're trying to figure out how the tornadoes work. But now we know how they work, and we're trying to stop them and kill them, I guess, by sucking the moisture out of them. So it's a different little twist on it. There's a lot of great references in this film to the homage of the last one. There's like two or three, which I really appreciated. The most obvious one is like the opening scene. They are using Dorothy. I think it's like Dorothy 4 or 5. I couldn't really see the Roman numerals on it. So they were using that with her crew. And, they get caught out in the storm. They didn't realize how big this storm was and that their science was off. It didn't work. And, of course, we have Kate ends up getting all of her team killed except for herself, including her boyfriend. I don't think it's a fiance because they don't show any rings. So I think it's just a boyfriend. And they all get killed in pretty traumatic ways. And then, it flashes the 5 years forward. Then, of course, we have, one of our first tips to the cap, a little bit later on. Anthony Ramos' character, Javi, comes to New York City to find Kate where she's at, working for a weather station or some kind of weather station. It's not the Weather Channel, but some kind of weather station in New York. So basically, she's left the plains of Oklahoma. She's out of there. She's done, finito. And Javi comes and tracks her down because now he started his own business. And he needs Kate to help him, gather this data to get a 3D visual of a tornado so you can see the destruction of it. And he's funded by a lot of rich investors, is what he tells her. He has like a really super high-tech team, MIT, NASA. And like you have your second reference, of course, in there to the original Twister with Muskego. I forget how the heck they say the name of the college, but it's the college that Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt characters worked for in the original one, which I thought was a nice little tip of the cap against that. And the nice thing, another thing nice about this, they didn't do too much with the references. Because honestly, this is a whole separate film. There's only like 3 or 4 references, which again I really appreciate because sometimes you have films that overdo it and it becomes corny and cheesy. So they did a nice job with that. So he talks to her. So Javi talks Kate into going back out to Oklahoma, and that's where we end up meeting Mr. Tyler Owens and his YouTube crew, the Tornado Wranglers. Honestly, I loved his entrance into this film. I thought it was so. It seems like it just fits Glenn Powell's character, especially if you saw Maverick. This seems like this is something Hangman would do. Rolling in, blasting the Luke Combs song, Ain't No Love in Oklahoma. He's got that blasting, so everybody knows he's there. And there's all kinds of storm chasers there because it's supposed to be the biggest storm of like the last 20, 30 years or whatever. So there's going to be hundreds of storms all over the place. So there's a bunch of amateurs everywhere, which is like a horribly dangerous thing to have happen. And of course, Tyler Owens and his crew are YouTube people, and they go into literal tornadoes, which again is pretty wild. Obviously, we know that probably isn't the greatest idea, but some of the stuff they do is actually really cool. Again, you can meet this character. Let's be honest, guys, he's a good-looking guy. He comes off, he's very charming. He has his little his little line, if you feel it, chase, and everyone screams it, everyone knows it, including one of Javi's guys screams it. And so then we get introduced to him, and he sees Kate out staring at, at the wind and the clouds and everything using a dandelion. And I don't know if that was supposed to be the same thing, kind of like an homage to what Bill Paxton did in the original one, where he's like checking the dirt with his hand and whatnot. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be the same thing, but that's the kind of way I took it. So, because she's looking at the weather pattern with the dandelions. And so basically she tells, Tyler's, Glenn Powell's character, Tyler Owens, like, hey, I'm going this way, and then you should go that way because that way's going to be better. So she lies to him. So he ends up following him. And then, of course, they're jockeying back and forth for position. He's just having a great time, And basically, like, Javi's team, they all get in position, and Kate kind of freaks out and has, like, a flashback to when she got her whole team killed. And so basically, they have to jump back in the truck and go away. Meanwhile, you see Tyler Owens driving into tornado with a British reporter. And they're driving into the tornado. I loved it. They're like, we're going right in with a truck. Also, another homage right there, because I believe it's a red Dodge Ram. And I believe that's the same kind of truck that Bill Paxton drove in the original Twister. I believe. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's a red. I'm pretty sure they're both red Dodge Rams. If I'm wrong, sorry, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one. But again, I don't know if that was on purpose, but it might have been. Who knows? So his truck's all done up with like reinforced steel. He's got drills rigged up to the sides of his truck. I thought that was really cool. So he drills himself into the ground so the tornado can't lift them up off the ground and get them sucked up or blown away. And next thing you know, they're shooting off fireworks into a tornado. And I thought the Fast and Furious movies were insane and ridiculous. But honestly, I don't care because I was so entertained by this. The CGI, these tornadoes were so incredible. They looked really good. I mean, and honestly, the original Twisters, I thought those tornadoes looked great for like 96. But these were great. They're bigger, better, faster, of course, because 2024. It's been 26, 27-ish years since the last one came out. The first one came out. But overall, I thought it was great. And like, I love they're like filming the whole thing like live on YouTube. And the British guy is losing his mind. He's doing a story on Tyler Owens. And the guy is just losing his absolute loving mind because he doesn't expect them to going into a physical tornado because they didn't really tell him. And they're like videotaping this guy. They're shooting fireworks off, and of course they get all excited, and it's great. And they drive out. They're like, Kate, you missed the whole thing. And so of course, then he's very intrigued by Kate because she knows what she's doing. So the whole time, basically, you got the rest of the film, he's kind of following her around from place to place to place. And then finally, Kate gets up the courage to go chase a tornado. And we end up in this city where it's like absolutely destroyed. Again, I'm skipping some parts here and there, but we fast forward a little bit. We're in a destroyed city. We find out that through Tyler Owens, tells Kate, you don't really know who you're working on. We find out that Javi and his team are actually working for like I want to say like some kind of real estate investor. The guy buys land and then I guess essentially just pays people off for it and just takes it after their houses and everything is destroyed. So basically he's just making money off other people's misery, and just devastation. And then we kind of get a little bit more, and of course, Tyler has like a t-shirt thing and everything set up. So Kate goes, how are you going to sell t-shirts and this kind of thing and make a profit? Then we find out, after, one of Tyler's crew officer, like food and water and stuff. And she goes, well, how do you think we pay for this? It's worth the t-shirt sales. The food and water is free. So we find out that his team, you think is his ragtag, redneck, tornado wrangling team from Arkansas, is just a bunch of stupid hillbillies. But they're actually really good people. It's just a show. It's a show. Another thing I kind of like, they got away from the YouTube stuff pretty quickly with him. There's only a few scenes where they're like, really like, ooh, yeah, like YouTube stuff. And honestly, I really, really enjoy the fact they got away from that. You got better character development. Because again, Tyler Owens comes off as an absolute, just like cocky a-hole. for the first like little bit of this movie. But again, he's also very charismatic, very charming. You know, his crew all have their own great personalities. One flies a drone into the storms. The other one's videotaping everything. It's great. And so basically, like, we find out, and Kate finds out about the Javi stuff, and then she goes off on him, and she goes back to the hotel, and then of course, like, Tyler's like comes over, gives her like food or whatever, and then they end up going over to a rodeo, and he keeps calling her city girl, city girl, city girl. She finally tells him after like probably the 15th time being called city girl. She goes, I'm actually grew up about 3 hours from here. Then, of course, they're at the rodeo, and one of the cowboys gives them the nod thingy that he does. And she goes, what was that? He goes, I used to ride. And basically, we kind of get a little background that he used to ride, bull riding and stuff, but he got his head kicked in a few times, and he decided chasing tornadoes is probably a little less dangerous than getting my head stomped on by a bull. And this scene, honestly, this is probably like one of my I guess flaws in the film. I just thought it was kind of like the fact that leaves blew in to the rodeo, and then Kate catches one or picks one up. I forget, something has with a leaf. She ends up with a leaf in her hand. She goes, "Were you guys tracking any storm cells over here?" He goes, I think he says like no, or yeah, I couldn't really hear. It was kind of mumbled, or maybe I just didn't hear what he said. I don't remember. And all of a sudden, the wind starts whipping around, tornado starts flashing, tornado sirens start going off, and all of a sudden there's a tornado right there on the rodeo, just like we got with the original one, where they have the warnings, but no one's really paying attention because they're at the drive-in movie theater. Again, 27-year difference, different kinds of warning systems. Okay. So then they're running out of the rodeo. There's mass chaos. Cars are crashing into each other. People are knocking each other down. Everyone's running for the hills. You see the siren get sucked off into the distance. You see the tornado in the background with the lightning. Again, and the sound effects in this also were so good. I love the sound effects in this. This movie, unfortunately, I did not get to watch in IMAX. This movie in IMAX would be so incredible. This would be an incredible film in IMAX with even better sound. And like I said, the sounds of the wind and the rain and the hail and the thunder, like everything involved in tornadoes and thunderstorms in this film, I thought were absolutely spot on, just superb. I mean, it was awesome. And of course, so they run over to a motel to take shelter, pull a mom and daughter, like, no, you got to get out of the cars, because you get in the car, you get sucked away, you get rolled, you can die. So they go to this motel and try and find shelter, and we have this like couple screaming at this guy about getting a room, and they're like, there's no tornado, blah, 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 blah. They're like being a dick to this guy. And I found out it's actually that's Bill Paxton's kid. He's a small little part, and I really like the fact that he was able to be in this film, and that Bill Paxton, in a weird way, made an appearance in this film through his bloodline. And I thought that was really cool. They gave his son this opportunity, even though it was a small part. He basically just yelling at someone before he gets sucked away and killed. It was a great death scene, honestly. Happened real quick. And then all of a sudden, Kate sees a pool. So then they run across the parking lot, dive down in this pool with the caretaker, the whole motel lobby guy, whatever you want to call him. And of course, they find like the pipes. So they get behind the pipes, and they're low to the ground, so they're out of like the suck zone, because you get in the ditch or up under like the bridge embankments or whatever you want to call them. It helps cut down, you can't stand up. And of course, the one guy stands up, he gets blown away. So of course, Tyler and Kate ran out the storm with his mom and daughter hanging on to pipes in an empty pool. Sorry, I forgot that it is an empty pool. It's a really cool scene. It's very intense. Then of course, Javi comes back, and her and Kate are like getting an argument. And he goes, yeah, and he throws like her basically killing two of his best friends in her face. So then she gets in his truck and takes off, and she goes home. And a couple times throughout the film, she's ignoring calls from home. She doesn't want to go home. She doesn't remind him of home. And we know why. It's because from the beginning of the film, friends get killed at home. So, of course, she wouldn't go back where all that happened. And she ends up at home, her with her mom, and like she's all covered in mud and dirt from the tornadoes from the day. And then eventually, like probably 15 minutes later, whatever it is, the time frame, I forget off the top of my head, Tyler Owen shows up. But of course he does, the next day, whatever. And then we see the old video footage of her and her boyfriend in their barn the day before the accident happened that got him and 2 others killed. She's doing all of her research and her science with all the powdered stuff and everything that they're going to throw up into the tornado to kill it, suck out the moisture. And we get the little scene with that, and it's kind of like tragic because you know what happens less than 24 hours later. That unfortunately he is done so. And then of course, we see that like she's got all of her notes and books and diagrams and models and everything are still there. Her whole science project where she created a tornado at home, like just a homemade one. And Tyler's super impressed by this, and eventually he gets her to like basically show her what she's been working on. And he goes, in theory, this stuff should have worked. And then Javi shows up at the house, and he gives her the 3D footage so they can put it into the computer that Tyler has, or Kate has. Someone has a computer. And they end up seeing all the rotation and stuff and see that this should have worked, what she had, but she just didn't have enough, and that she needed more because of the size of the tornado. So then, of course, they end up leaving together, heading back out. Javi goes his way, they go theirs, and then now she's on the Tornado Wranglers team. And so, of course, they go out and they go chase tornadoes, and basically just chaos ensues like 30 minutes later. They go for, there's like double tornadoes, and actually that's earlier in the movie, sorry about that. Basically like her, and they keep doing this weird side-by-side thing throughout the film when they're driving, like, oh, I see you, I'm gonna fade back, oh, I see you, I'm gonna fade back. And eventually we see that she's with them now. And like, it's actually a really funny scene I skipped right over. When they get in the car, Kate just starts touching everything in his car, going through his glove box, touching all of his controls, and eventually she shoots off the rockets that he was saving for the tornado. And it's so funny. He goes, have you ever been in a car before? And of course, they meet up with their team, and they get the right amount of supplies that they need from Kate with a trailer, because they're going to go take down another tornado. And so they end up finding this one, and it turns into this massive thing. All of a sudden, like, Javi's caught up in it, his truck's overturned, and it goes to like a weird like power plant. All of a sudden, it's like a fire tornado, which was really freaking cool. Didn't think I'd see one of that. Haven't seen one of those since Sharknado. If you know, you know. And it was kind of a very chaotic scene. It turns to like this like massive F5 tornado heading into this town. And the whole thing, this whole movie, is they're doing this to help save the people, give them more warnings, just like in the first one. And so basically then Javi has to make a choice. Do I go help these people, or do I go get my money? Because his crew is like, his main guy is like, no, screw those people. I don't care if they die. We need to get this data to get it to our guys so we can make more money. And so, of course, Kate and Tyler and their team, they go into town. They don't worry about it. They're just there to help the people. And, of course, all the madness and chaos and everything ensues. It's a town that's not built for this. It's just kind of a town, probably a couple thousand people in it. It doesn't it's a big downtown, and everyone's having like a big like sale outside, like kind of like a sidewalk sale. Buildings are crumbling, the water tower comes down, the movie theater's getting jacked up, and when the water tower comes down, like Tyler actually gets trapped underneath like some of the stuff when the water tower's falling. Then Javi comes in last minute, leverages everything up, which is again is a callback to the first part of the film, because their trailer gets tipped over and they have to leverage it. So I think they're doing a callback to that. They were able to do it. And so Javi helps save Tyler. And then they run to the movie theater. And again, this movie theater is just falling down piece by piece by piece by piece, because it looks like it's probably just an old movie theater. It's an F5 coming. These people have nowhere to go. There's no basement. So Kate, being the badass heroine that she takes the truck and takes off, and all the guys are like, "Where did Kate go? No one saw her run outside, get in the truck, and drive away. No one saw it somehow. Nobody saw it." I'm like, "How did you not see it?" She's like, "Right there." And so then they go, "Where'd she go?" And they're watching at the back of this door, and they see her like driving towards the tornado, and they're all like, "No!" Of course, super dramatic. You gotta be, because at this point you can tell like Tyler and Kate kind of have a very like flirtatious will they won't they thing going on. And again, that's another thing I really appreciated. They didn't force a love story in this film. To me, it did not feel forced, and I like that, because I thought they were going to try and force another one early on with Tyler and Kate, and basically just ram it down our throats, which I was super worried about. But they didn't really do that. It was a very flirtatious thing, which I'm okay with, because to me, in that situation, I think it would have taken away from the film itself and the storyline, because I thought it was a really good, solid storyline with what they were trying to do. And again, the scene where she's driving to the tornado, she's shooting rockets at the tornado, because there's two different kinds of chemicals she needs to get up into the tornado's funnel to suck the powder, and then the powder gets sucked out. And of course, like one other ridiculous Fast and Furious kind of thing, the theater's falling apart. People are like, literally getting, the screen gets ripped off. You see the massive tornado. People are getting sucked out. One of Tyler's crewmates like goes flying. He happens to grab her by the hand, like this, like by the wrists, and he's holding onto a seat that's starting to come out of the screw with his foot. I was like, okay. Well, okay. I mean, it's a movie. You kind of get what you get with this. I mean, again, it's a good scene. It was kind of just like, okay, we're going Fast and Furious rules here. But of course, Kate goes in there, stuff explodes, the tornado, she drills the truck to the ground. The tornado's starting to move her because it's so powerful and everything. She doesn't think it's going to work, and she's just sitting in the truck. And I love how they go from like the angle where she's like looking up out of the truck, and you see the tornado, and it goes back down inside, and they kept doing that shot on and off, which I really liked. I thought that was a good camera choice and shots by the director and the cinematographer. I thought that was that was a good way to do it. And of course, the truck rolls like 3 or 4 times, and then somehow I think Tyler sees it, and the tornado ends, and they all go sprinting out there, and everyone's like, "I thought you were dead," and she's all bloody and beat up, which makes sense. She was just in an F5 tornado, which is the most powerful tornado you can possibly have on the Fujita scale. And she survived it, stopped an F5 with science, which I thought was great. The whole thing stuck to science, saved the people, which I thought was great. But again, it's going to happen. You're not going to have this big build up to this conclusion and have all these like hundreds of people just get murdered. But again, you saw the ending kind of coming like a couple miles away. But again, still enjoyed it. I thought the plot was great. And then we fast forward a little bit. Javi's dropping off Kate at the airport. And I also forgot to mention, sorry, hardcore ADHD. I forgot to mention when Tyler and Kate are leaving, Tyler hands the mom one of his t-shirts, and she's just like, what? And looks at the daughter, and she looks at her, and they look at each other, and she's like, what am I? And she's like, it's like an unspoken thing that you have with your friends. I thought that was actually a really small piece of comedy they threw in there in an action movie. Then, of course, Tyler rolls up in his truck while Javi's dropping Kate off at the airport to fly back to New York. And somehow this truck is not absolutely destroyed. Somehow it's not. It got flipped like 4 or 5 times in an F5. But the truck's not destroyed. Again, movie magic. And so they're saying goodbye, and he goes, is this the last time I see you? She goes, I don't know. He goes, why do I feel like it is? And she hits him with his line, well, if you feel it, chase it. And she walks inside. And of course, we have, the security guard out there like, you need to move your truck now. Move it right now. And then I love it. He just hits the button. It drills. He drills his little drills into the cement. And the guy's like, what the hell? He runs inside. He goes to get her. And then, of course, we get the airport announcement. Hey, due to heavy winds and weather, flights can be delayed. Then, of course, Tyler and Kate leave the airport together. So, again, overall, that's just a brief. I kind of ran through that. Again, 25 minutes. I guess I did pretty good with that. I skipped over a lot of stuff. I jumped around. That's just how I do things. Overall, if I had to give this a rating, I mean, I'm going to go with like a 7.8 out of 10. I will say I did enjoy the first one better. I won't even lie to you about that. That one really was the one that kind of got me into like, just weather in general. I love like just watching weather shows and stuff like that. So again, this is a good movie. I definitely will be seeing this again at some point. I will probably add it to my DVD collection back here. Add to the hundreds of movies I already have. I thought it was really well done. Super talented cast. Glenn Powell is on absolute freaking heater right now. Between Maverick a couple years ago, then The Hitman, Anyone But You, and Twisters, all in like a month and a half span. This guy is crushing it right now. And I actually will be covering Anyone But You next. I was going to do that originally tonight, but I was like, I just saw Twisters. It just came out, so I figured you guys would want to see this one instead, just because it is a newer film. So be on the lookout for that one. I'm going to be doing some other films I've just finished like in the last week or two. So hope you guys enjoy this one. I know it's a longer one than normal, but this was a great film. It's super fresh in my head, so I have a lot of information to get out to you guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share down below. Until next time, I'll see you at the movies.